All right, guys. So we're going to be talking about how to find a restaurant space for rent today, because that is a topic and something that I think a lot of people want to know, because I think a lot of people have this dream of owning a restaurant, but they go online and they see the rent prices of these places are astronomical. And sometimes it feels like the dream of renting a space for a restaurant is just unattainable, because a lot of times these restaurants for lease are, number one, they want to lock you into a big contract for 3, 6 years. And number two, a lot of times these restaurant leases are 3 to 4 times what your rent is where you live. And you think, man, some months I'm having a hard time paying my rent at the house. How could I possibly afford the rent at this restaurant? And so that's what I want to talk about. I've touched on this before in my how to open a restaurant video. So if you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. But I wanted to make a specific video on this topic because I feel it's very important. So how to find a space for a restaurant. All right. So you can go on LoopNet, you can go on Facebook Marketplace, you can go to tons of different online places where they're going to be trying to rent or sell or lease commercial spaces for restaurants to you. Do I recommend that? No, I do not. That is the biggest waste of time there is. Now, the only caveat I would say is sometimes you can find a good deal on Facebook Marketplace. Sometimes. So is it worth looking on Facebook Marketplace? Sure. All those other places, I would say no. Most of those commercial spaces that are on these websites, they are in shopping centers in very prominent locations, which sounds great because you'll have customers and traffic. However, a lot of them are wanting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and $9,000 a month for rent. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know many people who can afford to stay open with those kind of rents for very long. And so it is very discouraging when you look on those sites and try to find places. So I'm going to tell you guys how to do it, how I did it. And so what you want to do is this. What you want to do is you want to drive around your community and the smaller towns around your community. Specifically, if you live in a big city like Houston, we'll use Houston as an example. That's the closest, biggest city near me. Okay, I live about 45 minutes away from downtown Houston in a town called Porter, Texas. It's next to Humble and New Caney and Kingwood, so on and so forth. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to drive around these places and you want to look for restaurants that used to be there. You want to look for sale signs. Typically, they'll have a little stanchion sign on the side of the road that says for sale or for rent, for lease, and they'll have a phone number on it. No name, no price, nothing. And you want to find a building that is going to be matching your aesthetic. So for me, it's barbecue, okay? And so I was looking for buildings that match the aesthetic for barbecue and just hoping that there was a restaurant built out in them or something that I could work with. And so you want to drive around and find these places, look on the side of the road, drive slow, maybe on a Sunday, and look for these for sale, for rent, for lease buildings that you feel like it would be a good fit for your business. Why would it be a good fit? The aesthetic of the building, the size of the building, the location, the traffic driving by. Okay, most of the time, the people who have these for lease signs out or for rent signs out in these standalone buildings, not a shopping center, guys, not a shopping center, standalone buildings, or it could be a shopping center in like an old downtown kind of rustic area, maybe something like that, but not the big fancy shiny new ones with all the big stores. Don't do that. That's going to be way too expensive. Most of the time, if you're finding what I'm talking about, these people don't have these listings online. Most of the time, it's a little bit older folks. They're old school. They want to rent to you. They're not going to ask for a deposit. If they do, it's not going to be anything crazy. And a lot of times they operate in cash. A lot of times they operate in cash. They want to rent these buildings out quickly for cash. And a lot of times it can be month to month. Mine was no deposit, month to month for a reasonable price. A reasonable price. What's a reasonable price? Well, that's going to determine on your area. That's going to determine on what your budget looks like. That's going to determine on what your finances and what concept you're trying to do. Okay. For me, I ended up being able to get this spot for $1,500 a month, month to month, no deposit. That was perfect. When the landlord lined that up for me, I was like, how could I say no? That's perfect. Especially when I was online looking at all these places for $4, $5, $6, and $7,000 a month for rent. I was like, that's just not possible. I'm going to keep doing pop-ups. It's just not possible. And so that's the type of places you want to be looking for restaurant space. And you need to be patient. You need to be patient because it's not going to just pop up. You're going to have to drive around and find these locations. I wouldn't even really suggest a realtor, to be honest. I wouldn't suggest that because typically they're going to try to lean you more towards the big commercial places that are expensive because they want that commission. They're going to, first of all, these landlords with these type of buildings, they're not working with realtors. They're not paying them any commissions, nothing like that. So you got to drive around where you're at and don't try to go too big. Yeah, we all want a big, fancy, ginormous dining room, okay? But you got to start somewhere, okay? Even if it's just like, it looks like a snow cone stand or a mobile stand that they built, and maybe you sell pastries or something like that and coffee, and you see a mobile unit type deal on the side of the road for lease and for rent, and you would love to have your own bakery and coffee shop with lots of little tables and stuff like that. You can get to that point, but you have to start and build your brand somewhere. And that's what the next video I'm going to do is building a restaurant brand. But you got to start somewhere. Like this restaurant, what you're seeing is inside the kitchen. The entire building is the kitchen. There is no dining area inside. It's all patio dining. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a lot of to-go business, but then we have about 16 to 20 chairs outside with tables. So we can fit about 16 to 20 people, which for a small restaurant is actually pretty good. Okay. Now, since it is patio, it is outside, it is the winter, we're going to have to get some heaters. We're going to have to cover the patio windows and stuff like that. We're going to have to make some modifications and do some things to make sure guests are comfortable eating here. But that is what it is. Okay. So if you're someone who is been doing pop-ups for a while, you're looking to get into the restaurant, you need to start looking for places just driving down the road, okay? This was a big thing before the internet. People, if you heard the term driving for dollars, okay? Real estate investors would drive for dollars. They would drive through neighborhoods and drive through communities just looking for houses with for sale signs up, and they would just walk right up and either knock on the door and see if the person was home to get some information on the house, or there would be a phone number on the sign and they would call. And any wholesaler, any real estate wholesaler investor will tell you that those are some of the best deals available. Not the ones on Zillow, not the ones in all these places, but the ones that you drive by, they got a sign, you can go in and just make a deal, handshake deal, and it's done. And so that's what I would advise you do. And hopefully this video was helpful for you guys, because I know a lot of people watching this channel, either they enjoy the barbecue stuff, they enjoy the pop-up content, they want to start their own pop-up, or they want to open a restaurant either now or in the future. I could have gone several different ways with the channel, guys. When I started, I could have just been a cooking channel and done recipes and showed you guys how to cook different things and whatnot. But I said, you know what, there's a million of those channels on the internet. That's not really something I'm passionate about doing. Yeah, I'll do one every now and then, but I wanted to go on the business side of the restaurant industry and teach you guys what it takes to actually run it and build and brand and do it yourself. So Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. We post content all the time on how to get into the restaurant business and the food service business. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Leave a like and a comment. Love to hear your feedback on what you have to say about the topic, and I will catch you in the next video.